Hi everyone, it's Black Admiral reporting for you today. In the fourth episode of our podcast, Armada Legion Kraków podcast, I will tell you a bit about the tournament that recently happened in Poland. As usual, of course, I will do some meta analysis and the top lists from the tournament. And the tournament mentioned was the Polish Nationals, actually Polish Masters 2021. As we all know, there's still no official prize support and OP support from the AMG. So similarly to the previous year and to the regional series that we had this year, our community decided to just provide the tournament on our own. As of course all the restrictions are not too bad here in Poland, so it's generally possible to organize such big tournament. So yeah, just moving on to the tournament itself. It happened in the end of the September. The last weekend, of course, was 2 days of playing Armada. 4 rounds of Swiss on a day one, 3 rounds of Swiss for the top 8 players on the day 2, and the side event meanwhile. So on Sunday, the task force event, and of course, this is like pretty usual structure nowadays for the Armada tournaments. So no playoffs, only the Swiss in the top. So this is how it looked like. We had, when it comes to participation rate, so to the attendance, we had almost 30 people signed in, but unfortunately a lot of players didn't, out of the players who signed in, didn't appear on the Saturday's morning. So like 6 of them, I believe, just dropped even before the tournament. So finally it was 23 people. So I can say sadly, of course, because we are always aiming for more, for at least 30 people when it comes to Poland. What was fine and pretty great was that a lot of new players joined and appeared on the tournament, but unfortunately some of the veteran players who used to play pretty often this year didn't make it to the tournament. So as I'm saying, only 23 people, more than the previous year, but possibly still this ongoing situation worldwide is not encouraging people to participate at least in a scale that we would love to see. But still, 23 admirals. So yeah, we're even pretty happy about that. We're just happy about the fact that the tournament actually happened. So yeah. And what's more, the tournament was pretty great when it comes to like organization. This year I wasn't like the TO like last year, so I wasn't entirely involved in this. I only just helped with providing some prize support and the other stuff like that. A stream, of course, for you guys. So I can strongly encourage you to check the recordings of two days on our channel. However, yes, this year it has been played in Warsaw in the Wargaming Club Dragon, so the usual spot for the big tournaments in our country. And yes, on a Saturday's morning, 23 people showed up to fight for the title, to play for the title of national champion, of Polish national champion 2021. So yeah, when it comes to the organization, as I mentioned, it was the prize support was of course the custom one, thanks to our sponsor Jack Customs, who is supporting the Polish scene, and from what I've heard, not only Polish but I believe like entirely. The entire Europe knows Jack, which is super cool. Yeah, so he provided some support. First of all, I will just show you. This is how the poster for this tournament looked like. So yeah, as you can see, Dragon at the bottom, Jack Customs and our podcast were the main organizers for this. Of course, the graphic is the one that you pretty well know, I believe, from Amity. Is it Amity? One of the Starhawks titles, I think. Yeah, so a part of that, we provided the price support, the custom one, and of course some additional one, like from the old elder kits. So generally the players receive some kind of like promos, some sets of promo cards from the elder kits. There was a draft on the day one, on the day two, I think as well. But a part of that, of course, let's say the kit of our project, the tournament kit of our project that you can see on the screen right now. So just shortly describing the prizes. The participation prize was the blue shield dial set that you can see nearby the middle of the picture. So every participant received it. Then there was a top 16 prize, so the round tokens, which are also visible in the middle. Of course, both colors. That was the frost acrylic. They were made from frost acrylic. Looked pretty nice. So of course, 6 tokens. Set of 6 tokens for the top 16. Then top 8 received some kind of plaque, just the credit chip deemed, let's say, according to how it was the previous year. The previous year we had the Rebel insignia, Rebel rank plaque. So this plaque with the dots on it, like the Rebel commanders had, like Raiken or the others as well. But this year it was a credit chip style, the credit chip them. It was made out of some kind of like a metal. So this is not necessarily doing anything in the game. It's just kind of a souvenir. The one that you can see in the left top corner. So there was a stand for it. It just looks nice on the shelf. So we wanted to honor the people from the top 8 by granting them some kind of like a small trophy, let's say. A part of that, top 4 was about to receive the ship trace with the graphic from RITR, and of course the logo of the tournament. It's not visible on the picture, but also looked pretty nice. Top 2 glass trophies. So for the runner-up and the champion one pretty big and heavy with the RITR graphic. The runner-up trophy with the amity, so similar to the poster of this tournament. And yes, this is how the main prizes looked like. A part of that, on the day one, there was a possibility of winning the faction themed tokens, the victory tokens that you can see also in the middle, the gold ones, just towards the right top corner. So top Rebel player, top Imperial player, and top Separatist and Republic player as well just received, on the day one of course, received the set of those promos. So a part of that, there were additional prizes for the, let's say, side activities. So for the side event, there was a Task Force Champion trophy that you can see at the top, and top 4 in the Task Force tournament, which was the side event on Sunday, received also the veteran tokens. So strictly connected, of course, to the campaign, mostly, of course, RITR, but generally the format that is strictly connected to the campaign. So Task Force required some stylish prizes as well. And additionally, one fancy thing I think is that we had the trophy, we had the prize for the best painted fleet, which I believe it's a pity that so far the FFG was not providing such prizes like in official kits, only for Legion, because of course Legion is mostly a hobby game, but also a part of the fact that Armada and X-Wing just being painted. I mean, the ships are pre-painted. That doesn't mean that people are just repainting them. It's still the wargaming, so a pretty important part of wargaming, which is painting of the models. So it's nice to it's nice to provide such thing, and I believe it also encourages the people, the players who are just mostly focused on the hobby aspect of the game, not necessarily like, the competitive players, the ones that are focusing on competitive play, but the players who just desire to play and win something, being mostly a casual players. So I believe this is some kind of a nice thing to them, nice souvenir as well. This is how the prizes looked like for our tournament. And well, I can show you just to mention before we just move on to the main part, so the top 8 and general the stats discussion. I will show you 2 things. Actually I will show you the one. So the best painted fleet was that was the winner of it. As you can see just on the picture, all ships painted, some 3D printed models, so the proxies, which of course we appreciate because it looks super cool. It looks like the guy who managed to prepare this fleet was really mixed into Armada, so he just spent a lot of time and effort to make his fleet look like that. And as you can see, I can just tell you because I was as one of the semi-TOs, let's say, I was the part of jury, and the general thing that the thing that made the biggest impression on us was were those beautiful obstacles, 3D obstacles, especially the station. So that's why the guy won the whole prize. The other thing, also an honorable mention, is the task force tournament. So I can just tell you, if someone is curious, that the list consisting of Gladiator, the Demolisher of course, and Onager, so only those 2 models, that was the winning list for the task force side event on the next day. So now, as we have everything discussed, from the technical side, we can just move on to the biggest and the most important part. So starting with the stats, just to not waste more time on the introduction, statistics for the whole tournament. As we can see, I will just start from the beginning. So the factions. When it comes to factions, actually, I need to say at the very beginning that this is some kind of a surprise, because I was thinking that actually there will be much more Republic and Separatist appearance. Of course, the TCW factions, because on the first of all, on the recent tournaments, many players took it, and of course, they're just brand new ships, brand new stuff. So I believe this is something that is just making the people more eager to just participate in the tournaments more eagerly recently. So yeah, but it appeared that just on the occasion of the Nationals, which is a big tournament, an important one of course when it comes to a rank, they decided to take the list that they already know, that played, the list that they know pretty well, and they were practicing with it even before. So no experiments, just pure effectiveness, I can say. So yeah, 9 Imperialists, 9 Rebel players, 4 and 3. So even less than the new factions were just represented by less people than single empire, right? So pretty interesting. But I would just put it in the order like 1/3 of people took the empire, 1/3 more or less take the rebels, and 1/3 the new factions. But of course, I believe in the upcoming months, or generally in upcoming the meta that will be running right now, definitely there will be more of Separatists and Republic. Okay, so moving on to commanders. Yeah, first of all, the guy who was represented the most was Martuk, surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, not many separatists on the tournament, but all of them were Martuks, which is funny. But I would say that it's if someone would said to me before the tournament that it will be only Martuk, then I would have been like, okay, yeah, that sounds reasonable, because of the two things. So first of all, separatists as a faction definitely seem to be going towards the big ships and generally the ship builds. There are not many like full squadron builds being played by the separatists because it's hard to figure out something that is decent, mostly due to the fact that their squadrons are just kind of fragile with the 3 HP, so tough to build like a typical squadron list as it used to be with the other factions. So that's why they are moving towards the ships and the ship archetypes. And simply when it comes to ship archetypes for separatists, the best commander seemed to be Martuk, possibly the raid bot, so TF 1726 if I'm not mistaken, something like that, but generally the raid bot. But Martuk seems to be just even more effective, allowing you just to engage at the long range, do not require being at the medium range. Of course, the firepower that he adds is definitely a bit worse than the TF, but in the end, I believe it's worth to take it as well, because of the fact that the circumstances under he works. So the targeting, the ship that is being targeted has shields. Generally makes that this guy is perfect, at least has a perfect first punch. Okay, moving on then, we can see Gergerad, Agate Akbar, number of 3. So Gergerad, no surprise, one of the best meta commanders. Agate, similarly, I can just add that all the Agate lists were the Starhawk lists, with generally, when it comes to Agate, of course, more often we can see the Agate on something else, like Agate without Starhawk, than the Starhawk without Agate, right? Because she seemed to be just a default commander for this ship. Okay, so then Akbar, in the recent meta seems to be a reasonable choice. I mean, he's kind of back in the game because like recently, so the Armada, so-called Armada 1.0, especially at the end, in the end of this meta, Akbar wasn't like a super good choice, but here he seems to be back a bit mostly because of the meta. Seems to be moving towards ships now, which of course I will discuss in the remaining part of this material. So yeah, Akbar seems to be reasonable. Sloan and Tarkin, the Republic Tarkin, were represented by 2 people. Sloan, someone would say that it's surprise, but I think that not necessarily. I mean, the players who took Sloan usually play Sloan, but according to the fact that there are so many choices right now, that Sloan is not like, the default one for the big tournament, and also not many people practicing with her. Generally, I believe this is not like a biggest surprise. It's not a surprise. It's not like, everyone coming to this tournament was taking the best list in the meta that is possible. People, I believe like at least half of the people that were participating were more or less just focusing on having fun, and mostly like a casual approach. So yeah, among those players, those top competitors, and the players who prefer the competitive play, Sloan was represented by 2, so it's okay. If there would be no Sloan, I would be surprised, but it seems that number of 2, it's pretty high appearance as well. Tarkin, it was just 2 Tarkins. I can say that there's surprise, just there was no Bail Organa, but only 3 Republics in the fleets that Tarkin was was the commander, the Tarkin was a possibly better choice because there were SPHAT, so SPATI archetypes, and you need tokens there, so Tarkin seems to be reasonable. And a part of those guys, Moti, Thrawn, Romodi, Skreed, Riken, and Luminara, represented only by one. Luminara, okay, cool. Skreed, Romodi, Thrawn, Moti. So this is actually what shows us one thing, I believe, and the fact that Empire was represented by 9 people is that Empire has the biggest amount of the potential choices, the biggest list of archetypes that they can take, because they can take onagers, they can take some kind of bunkers like SSD. Not saying that this is like a decent choice or a list that can compete in a serious meta, but still some kind of option. LMSUs, the Jerjerats, of course, even MSUs. There was one MSU on the Raiders, and much more archetypes, of course, Sloane, and generally the fighters, I mean the squadrons. So a lot of options for Empire, and hence we can see like how many, 7 or 6 different admirals. Yeah, so Moti, Thrawn, Romodi, Skreed. Still, so no surprise. The only surprise maybe is the Riken being represented by only one person. It wouldn't be a big spoiler if I will take that. If I will tell you that was me. But apart of me, nobody took the Riken, which is, well, hard for me to tell. Players do not. There are not many like rebel players here in Poland, I think, apart of what you can see, the number of 7, right? But apart of this fact, there are not like super many rebel players, and recently rebels are playing mostly with a gate, so maybe those Akbars, so no one really moves, no one really takes the Riken, so I wouldn't say that this is a surprise. Maybe just according to meta and how good Riken is, because it's definitely one of the top commanders still. That might be a surprise, but not according to the local meta, you can believe me. Okay, just moving on. Okay, maybe one more thing, just to summarize commanders. If there are like any super surprises among the commander's choice, I would say that maybe a Grievous, because Grievous is, some kind of admiral that, commander that provides you some options, some shenanigans. It just seems that our separatist players like and prefer the brutal firepower. So maybe Grievous, maybe no Radus, but Radus is like, first of all, it was never popular in Poland, so as well in Europe, I believe, and since nerf I didn't see many Raduses, but has a pretty good undiscovered potential when it comes to this meta, I think. And the second thing is that if meta will move towards the big ships, the Radus is a good counter, or maybe not counter, but good solution in it, so possibly in the future, but so far nothing like that. And Bail Organa, that's what I was about to tell you, that lack of Bail, which is super good commander of Republic. Personally, I believe even better than Tarkin, but of course, as I mentioned at the beginning, for those particular risks that contained Tarkin on this tournament, possibly Tarkin was just a bit better. But just personally, I believe that tokens can be compensated with the upgrades, especially nowadays with those munitions resupply, parts resupply, etc. So why not to take the commander that is actually giving you something else, something extraordinary. But yeah, it seems what you'll see in just a few minutes, Tarkin worked pretty well. So who am I to question that? To be questioning that. Okay, just shortly moving to archetypes. I will not go through the top 8 because I will just briefly describe it, analyzing the lists in the nearest future. But the rest you can just check. Maybe I will just not read it. You can just see everything here. So this is basically how it looked like. I think I just described the commanders and elaborated on commanders a bit and the factions. So, just getting into like super analysis of particular archetypes, is not the thing that I want to do. I can just point out if there were like some fancy lists. There was SSD, that's what I can mention. Like pretty much everything has been represented on the tables. Onager, no dual Onager, that's important for you guys analyzing meta out there. I think because the double Onager used to be a powerful archetype, especially on the west, possibly on the other side of the Atlantic. However, yeah, here it's not super popular. If you would ask me why, then I will just tell you that mostly due to the fact that Polish players do not buy too many things, too many ships. Like, okay, something new is coming out, I will buy like 2 or 3 Starhawks or Onagers. It's nothing like that in here. So there are also people are also not that focused on. Not that eager to borrow another one from someone and play. But of course, as this is a good archetype, it might be considered to be surprise. But a part of it, as I mentioned, there was pretty much everything. So there were Onagers, there were Starhawks, there was SSD. So pretty much everything I can say. Okay, so let's move on to the other part of statistics, the second part. So this one. Here there's a bit more to elaborate on, I believe, because those are much more, I don't know if it's correct, but mathematic statistics, I can say. And important ones, right? So squadron capacity, activations, and bid. So of course you can see the board here, and you can analyze it by yourself as well. But what I can tell you, I will just point out the most important things. So first metric, which is the squads. So first of all, as we can see, not many people playing too many squadrons. A lot of medium squadron balls, so it's the legendary medium squadron ball. It's something that finally seems to have some place in meta. I mean, a lot. I can see like 5 possibly, but also some low screens. The small screens of the squadrons. They seem to be working as well. So nice to see that. Nice to see that meta moved a bit and changed a bit, and it's now like you can actually take some squadrons that have some particular things and objectives to do during the game, and there's not necessarily the situation in which you have to take all squad lists or no squad list. So it's nice. It actually seemed to be working fine. If you would ask me why there was not many players with high squadron capacity, I think those are two things. There are, among the players who used to play with squadrons a lot, mostly those top players. As I'm saying, everyone who was about to take it just took it. And a part of that, people like to check new things as well, so possibly that's why those medium squadron balls appeared. So as you can see, second place, third place, high squadron capacity, and a part of that, like a long gap, because is it like 15th? Yeah, place number 15. And then, which is pretty interesting and worth to point out, I think there are 3 lists with the high squadron capacity in the end of the stake. So we can just pull out some conclusion out of this, that there is no longer a meta in which you can just take the squadrons and they are doing everything. They definitely, especially nowadays meta, they just require a lot of skill to be implemented into your playstyle, just for them to work properly. So they are not like auto pick. It seems that this is how it looks like, and also possibly those medium squadron balls or small squadron balls started actually, you know, they became a problem to those high squadron lists, because if you have just a medium squadron ball and, you know, for example, like ships with the super punch like separatists do usually, then of course your carriers may be in danger, and it's no longer like, okay, I will just kill your big ships before you will actually get into the fight. Yeah, because no intel, for example, which I believe is a pretty important factor. So yeah, the conclusion, in my opinion, is that yeah, high capacity of squadrons no longer like required to generally be in a top. That it requires some idea, some fancy approach to handle the today's meta. And also that the medium squadron balls and the small squadron balls used to be working right now. Moving on to activations shortly. So we can see how it was between 2 and 7, but only 2 lists with 2 of them, so you know, we can just a bit disregard it. And only one above 5. So the Raider, the mentioned by me earlier, Raider list on Screed. But as we can see, 16th place, so it doesn't seem to be working super good. And what needs to be mentioned, I believe the guy who was playing this list was in top 4 of nationals a few years ago, so pretty decent player, I would say. Yeah, but it seems that it didn't work. Yeah, so when it comes to activations, just to sum it up a bit. I was counting that. I didn't put it on this table here, but the average value for the activations was, I believe, 3.87. So not even 4 activations, less than 4 activations. But here, as you can see in the top 8, it was slightly above 4. Maybe not slightly, just 4.25, I think. Yeah, so it seems like activations still are pretty important, still are pretty good, and the players from the top like to have some activations, some additional activations. But of course, you know, hard to analyze like the whole meta by only one tournament. We'll see how it's gonna go, but definitely the activation rate decreased. Thanks to the I would say good mechanic of pass tokens. So that seems to be really good job by the playtesters and by the FFG. So yeah, it really, I wouldn't say like it fixed the game, but it changed it in a way that it allows player to consider much more, many more options when it comes to like choosing the ships, for example, because you're not stuck with 4 or 5 activations, and potentially with strategic advisor on a big ship. Now we can fortunately see some other not commanders but the officers on the big ships. So it's good, it's definitely good. Okay, and bid, that's also interesting measure, I think, because bid, like back in the days, in the past, especially in the end of the Armada 1.0, there were so-called bid wars. There was the thing that was pretty popular in the meta, but now we can see that bid is not like super important. Not many players with the bid above 10 points. So yeah, it seems that it significantly decreased comparing to how it was in the previous meta, in 1.0 meta. So yeah, I would say that the average was, I wasn't counting that, but I believe like around 7. So generally the medium bids, so above 5 but less than 10, or 10 at most. But yeah, but apart of that, many players with low bid, like literally only 4 players with full 400 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, I think. Yeah, so apart of them, everyone had some kind of a bid, which used to be low or medium. So like 5 or 7 points used to be an average, I think. So definitely it changed we'll see how it's gonna go. I was expecting people to be bidding more to be a second player now in Armada 1.5, but it actually appears that people used to play as a first player as well are pretty eagerly choosing. However, like I can share from my experience, all my games, I believe this is important because I had no bid. I had 400 points, so people were rather giving me a first player. Maybe that's, according to the specific of my list, which I will discuss shortly, but yeah, that's how it was. I would just need to compare it with the other players just to make sure, just to make some statement about that. But yeah, seems that people are not that much caring about if they are first or second. They started, they're having some bid just in case, but it's like, oh, I got a bid, it's nice because I will choose, but they are not necessarily focused on having like a super huge bid like it used to be, in the past, for example, with those price lists with 30 points of bid, which was like really ridiculous at some point. But of course that was the necessary thing for those lists to work, so I totally understand that. Just saying that nowadays it has been eliminated due to those corrections, those amendments that the FFG done with the Armada 1.5. So yeah, good job, guys, good job. Okay, moving on, I will just now analyze those 8 lists from the top 8. First of all, I'm gonna show you the ladder after the first day. So as I said, 23 players. Yeah, and this is how the ladder looked like. So I will now analyze those lists, but not in the order from the day one, so not like it's here, but how those lists just finished the tournament in the top 8. So just to avoid some confusion, but you can see the results. One thing that can be said about that, first of all, the most important one. Look at the funny thing. I mean, funny, not funny, of course, but it's like the guy who managed to get into the top 8 from the 8th place. First of all, big up for him, because as far as I know, that was the first tournament for him, and he seemed to play pretty well and make to the cut. Definitely, it was some kind of a surprise, but he seemed to be a good player, and also had the list which was definitely a bit helpful with that, because he was playing like a Starhawk, which I will discuss in a minute. But the most funny thing is that, look at this, he just get into the cut with only one victory, so with the record 1-3 with 25 points, meaning that he won one game 10-1 and lost 3 games with the result 6-5. So yeah, pretty interesting case. I don't think that first of all 25 points were enough to get into the cut anywhere, like in similar tournaments. It's like very low amount of points and still in the cut. But yeah, but 1-3, I didn't see it before, so yeah, so pretty much a surprise, but a welcome one, because it's making this tournament even more fancy than it actually was. Okay, guys, so now I will just jump to the first list. So the list that finally finished at the 8th place. So the guy, the Christian, that was a great debut for him. It seems top 8, but in a top 8 cut, he didn't gather like a super amount of points. Although let's take a look at his list. Factions, of course, Rebel, Starhawk, CR90s. I mean 2 TRC 90s, and Hammerhead squadrons, some small squadron bull Janors, and 2 what is 1300. Okay, so let's start with Starhawk. Quick look at the Starhawk. Agate, of course, Derlin, Expert Shield Tech, Local Fire Control, Flag Guns, Leading Shots, DB Wise, and Unity. and of course the cheaper version of Starhawk, so the Mark 1. As we can see, Starhawk mostly is focusing here on reducing the small damage. Like Derlin, an expert shield tech, literally allows him to easily reduce the like 3 damage from 3 separate attacks, of course, not necessarily separate, because Derlin is just stuck with the expert shield text. But anyway, of course, if from a gate, for example, he's adding additional redirect, then that means that he has 3, so 4 damage can be reduced by him. Or if he's just removing the braces, the redirects, then he's potentially capable of just removing 7 damage per round, which is pretty good. Yeah, pretty good. Of course, I prefer Valex, Blissix, and those other officers. Maybe not like all totally other, because Expert Shield Tech is definitely a good choice for a Starhawk. But there are definitely some options for the officer slot. But here it seemed to work, so I won't be questioning that. Yeah, moving on, local fire control, flag guns, so just a better salvo, leading shots for rerolls, and DBYs for the control on the salvo as well. So yeah, pretty tough one, and yeah, with definitely a Starhawk with a punch. 2 TRC 90s, always good. Maybe they do not like fit into Starhawk's builds usually, but the one thing that I would like to point out is because of like the obvious speed discrepancy between those two ships, between corvettes and the Starhawk, they are not usually being matched by the players who are building their list. But this is what I actually sometimes like, when there is like a Starhawk who is a tanky big ship, like in the middle of the fight, and some kind of a wingers, which are the corvettes here. So yeah, it might be working well if player knows how to engage properly, how to use that potential, and definitely it may work. So yeah, kudos to this player. Really good thing and good result. One single hammerhead, maybe here it's what I would like to change for something else, like for example another corvette with the MS ion cannons, or maybe just find some points for another TRC. That he has 9 points of bid, so yeah, definitely he can add those 5 points to have just to swap it with the another TRC. But possibly Shriv is working. I didn't see him much, but yeah, there is some kind of a potential in this officer, definitely. And is he an officer or a boarding team? It's a boarding team, right? Yeah, okay, sorry. Yeah, so Shriv is definitely has some potential. Maybe in this meta with the big ships that are relying on some particular upgrades, maybe this is where he will be finally played. Interesting to see. I will definitely watch the Christian's match from the stream recording, because he was playing the first round in the top 8, I think. Okay, and few words about the squadron: both Gen Ors and 2 YT1 1300. Sorry. Yeah, so nice ball actually, because of obvious things. 7 hull on both of those YTs. You need to kill them before Gen. She's bracing. Yeah, that may actually work. Speed 2 on those YTs, but Starhawk is also a slow ship, so that shouldn't be a problem as well. So yeah, and the fact that this squad ball, the role of this squad ball is, I believe, just to catch some squads of the opponent, and Starhawk is just killing them softly with unity. So interesting. And also those squads are receiving a counter from those YTs, and then from Genors. I would love to see Torrenfar here, just for those rerolls, but actually maybe some additional squadrons, like 1 more YT, just to find some space for it. Of course, that's an open case, but pretty nice. Quick look at the objectives: surprise attack, capture the VAP, and minefields. So surprise attack, always a good one, although can be some list can override it. So I believe anyway, advanced gunnery is just a good objective for the Starhawk. Maybe the most wanted if he will be able to, for example, switch Hammerhead with the flotilla, additional squadron. That way may be also good. But yeah, also, surprise attack is pretty nice. Capture the VIP, pretty rare one in the, the meta that needs to struggle with Moralo, for example. Like from time to time, there was only one Moralo here and didn't succeed at all. I mean, on the whole tournament. But yeah, maybe not like super risky, but generally you need to take this token, then fly away. Mostly just fly away with your ship, so possibly some other objectives would be good, but if it works for him, then why not? I believe possibly Starhawk is taking this capture the VAP token, isn't he? I think it sounds reasonable. I mean, depending on matchup, of course, but yeah, if you want to kill the Starhawk, then yeah, the token remains here. Interesting. Maybe not that bad. And minefields. Also pretty nice, like decent default objective. Could have been something else, but why not? Okay, I will just move on to the list number 7 then. So the spot number 7 has been taken by Matt Selwood. So he's an Englishman who lives in Poland for some time already. So he's not necessarily the visitor from abroad. This is the thing that I didn't mention before. Yeah, so we had two players out of Germany, but about one of them I will tell you pretty shortly, because yeah, he did pretty well in this tournament. But getting back to Matt, so yeah, he's a player from England but lives in Poland, so he's familiar to our local meta and definitely not a guest from abroad, just one of us. So Matt is a good player. Starting like a quick summary about his person. Good player, top 8 last year on the Polish nationals. This season was not like super good for him when it comes to the results that he had during the regionals, etc. But he was always like around top 8 of those regionals. He was experimenting a lot, and finally it seems that he found his beloved list, because he wasn't playing Separatist before. I was like super surprised when I seen that he took the Separatist. So he explained that he likes the ships with the maneuverability, and that's important thing for him. So that was what was he missing in the Republic, for example. That's why he took Separatist, and it worked. Which means definitely that Matt is super good player. 10 points of bid, so again on the edge of high bid and the medium bid according to the measure that measurements that I was doing on the during the preparing the stats. But let's say it's still a medium bid, although regarding the circumstances pretty big, especially on this tournament. Typical Separatist Marduk list. So 2 Recusants, one of them is a Patriot Fist, 2 Hard Cells, and small squadron screen. So yeah, what can be said about that is only like not supernatural thing on it is that he has actually B2 rocket troopers on those Recusants. So he definitely could have tried the Raid Bot as a commander instead of the Marduk. Because I don't know if it's just worth it without it, right? Additional die or against squadrons, or the raid against ships is good, but if it's decisive, hard for me to say. Maybe I would prefer just two another vulture droids or something like this. But anyway, yeah, ordnance experts. This is what is missing here, I would say. But still, really good list. Patriot Fist, of course, external racks for additional dice, linked turbo laser towers, a classic ones. Hard cell. One is a transport with a Counsnet, so kind of supportive one. But the other one, a classic battle refit without links, rather the TRC, but still pretty heavy punch. And squadrons 2 3 fighter aces. I think the better choice is just a swarm of vultures, just to keep, you know, the opposing squads a bit more, because here you can basically, you know, like Sloan lists are just one-shotting those squadrons, for example, one, maximally 2 shots, I'm gonna say. But yeah, it seems that it also worked pretty well for him, especially in the matchup against Sloan, because he was playing as Schwittlich's Sloan and then performed pretty well. So decent list, not many things to change, if any, of course. Yeah, so pretty good separatist list. Surprise attack, hyperspace assault, infested fields. Of course, since no flotillas in the new factions, they are not too eager to take most wanted. So yeah, surprise attack is one of the things. I would like to propose some fancy stuff. Maybe Marduk and similar archetypes will be finally the list that would be bearing the opening salvo as a red objective, because who really would like to receive 7 or even 8 or more with a Patriot Fist? It can be even 10 dice at the long range in the, you know, during the engage. It's like, you know, worth to consider, I think, because you're not losing too much if you'll finish with some damage cards on them, because those are pretty cheap ships. Usually the opponents just want to take them down, so you'll not be shooting. Interesting. I need to try, because it may be actually working, at least, well, you know, so far this objective was kind of dead, but here maybe, you know, when you're facing the big ships, who would like to receive such punch? If opponent has big ships, mostly the other ships in his list are not like super combat ships or something like that. It's the fact that one ship will receive that bonus. But here it actually it may work pretty well, I think. And also, if you're facing MSU, for example, here, then which MSU would like to take 10 dice? Well, 8 to 10 dice at the long range in the engage? I don't think any. So possibly it would be good. Advanced gunnery, of course, is no go here. And yeah, so far surprise attack possibly the best choice, the most classic one, the most typical one. Hyperspace assault, didn't see it for a while, but works pretty good for him, because he's dropping this hard cell with the TRC somewhere at the back of the, or on the side of the main target of opponent's list. So yeah, pretty nice choice. Question, of course, if there are like better choices for a yellow one. But if he wants to be static and just, you know, be nearby the station for the contested outpost, or the other things like that, like fleet ambush, you know, those are the risky ones. So possibly a good one, although I bet that he was playing that objective in most of the matches in which he was second. Okay, infested fields, still good. I'm not like super fan of it right now due to morale, but a part of this one, it's still one of the best blue objectives. Definitely defense, helps with defense against rogue squadrons mostly, but generally squads. So yeah, that's definitely reasonable. Okay, yeah, so pretty good performance. I believe last year Mad was 7th or 8th. Definitely a top 8, but don't remember. Seems that again he managed to finish the tournament on a pretty good spot for him. Okay, moving on to the list number 6. So the 6th place, which is Jerzy Yuri. So that's a player who is the biggest surprise of this season, 2021, because before this season, actually, I wouldn't know Yuri that much. I maybe seen him on some tournaments. And also he was just not traveling to many tournaments, so wasn't like the person that I known before, especially like from playing Armada. But Yuri seemed to prepare pretty well, and after the lockdown finished, after we started the regional series, Polish regional series, He took his Starhawk list, very similar to this one. We can just say that suddenly he just with all due respect, he just came out of nowhere and won the regionals, the first regionals this year. So, well, really good job so far, as he started playing most often recently. He's definitely like super good player. So yeah, we're just super happy that we got another representative from Poland, which is really good player. Yeah, so that was definitely a surprise. But looking at his list and how he's prepared with it, then all doubts about his quality are just gone. Yeah, so it was similar list, but he changed some things since then. He has a bit more. He has a bigger bid, I think. He removed pylons from the Starhawk, but let's maybe start from the Starhawk itself. So Agate, Valex, Blisex, Ray Antilles, Cake and Sholon, PDIC, Lynx, Magnites, and Concord. So typical Starhawk that is, that trick is that has a trick of slowing down the opponent and just killing it on the speed 0. Due to Magnites, Concord, and all the stuff. I preferred the version. I mean, I believe the version with pylons was also was just a bit better. But it seems that this time he swapped it for something else. Yeah. So apart of this super annoying Starhawk that is just killing you at speed 0. He has the support, which makes this Starhawk immortal, let's say. So 2 Peltas with projection experts, one with shields to maximum, the other one intensify firepower, and 2 GR75s with comms nets and some additions like Hando and Leia, which are supporting the Peltas and the Starhawk itself. Yeah, super tough typical tank meta list, typical bunker list. With not many shenanigans, only, let's be honest, just one trick, but super hard to avoid that. Super hard to counter it, and really works well. Hard to kill the Starhawk. I know if he lost the Starhawk, possibly like once or twice, but apart of that, I don't think that he's really losing it. So you're mostly up for the Peltas when you face him. Yeah, so when it comes to the objectives, because I analyzed this list already on the video from the regionals, so I will not be like paying super much attention to that. It's just Immortal Starhawk that is slowing you to speed 0, and hard to catch the remaining pieces, not to engage the Starhawk itself. So really tanky and strong list. Objectives, because this is what he also changed. Station Assault, Contested Outpost, Volatile Deposits. So typical list, farming typical objectives. He used to have Advanced Gunnery on Assault, and this is one thing that I need to criticize. Of course, politely, with all due respect. But no, generally, when you play Starhawk, you want opponent to engage you, not those 2 stations worth 7-4, so ATMOV. So this is what I can recommend. I mean, of course, in many matchups it works, because it's hard to disregard the Starhawk, not engage it, etc. But Advanced Gunner is just, I think it's just better, because it makes Starhawk even the bigger beast than it is. But first of all, it's not giving your opponent possibility to score some points, right? Here you want your opponent to face Starhawk, to attack this Starhawk, or just the other pieces that are nearby the Starhawk. Here with the Station Assault, you're giving potentially 2 other targets for your opponent to increase, or generally just to score some points. So I prefer the other ones. I definitely prefer the other ones. I can recommend the other ones. But as I'm saying, in many matchups it will work, because it, for example, will be not possible for the opponent to not engage with the Starhawk and engaging the stations. Yeah, so that's the one thing. Contested Outpost, a classic one. Volatile Deposits, no questions asked. No doubts about that. So definitely the proper proper choices here. Okay, number 5. So the guy who missed the top 4 just by an inch, maybe not an inch, it was few points if I remember correctly, but still really good player. Przemek from Warsaw, so-called Niedzielan. He is a player who was the runner-up on the mentioned regionals, the first one that Yuri won. He was the runner-up. They didn't play against each other on that tournament, but still no significant results so far apart of this this runner-up title from the regionals this year, but a good player, always nearby the top, always a decent player. Recently I was playing against him on a regular tournament. He kicked my ass, I need to admit that. So yeah, pretty good player, separatist player recently. He used to play with Sloan, with the Imperials mostly, but he plays various archetypes. For sure you've seen him a few times on our streams with some even with some interesting lists on Interdictors and the Onager. So he experiments a lot, he has nice ideas. He's brave enough to take different lists and pretty usually achieving a good results on the tournament. Okay, so as we can see here, not much, not a big bid, only a small one, and also maybe not typical separatist build, because that's an actually LMSU. It's not like a separatist beef with at least 2 big ships. Only one big ship, only one recusant, Patriot Fist, what a surprise. Lynx, what a surprise. And the other guys, flight controllers. That's actually a surprise. I'm gonna move to that just in a minute. Let me finish. So Martuk, of course, and Shumei, pretty decent choice as well. And Reserve Hangar Deck. And Reserve Hangar Deck is on every single ship here, because on the 3 other hard shells, which are pretty much the same, a part of Hando on one of them. So RHD and the dual turbo laser towers, turrets. So, you know, a lot of dice at long range, a lot of red dice, tough ships, and the pretty good squadron ball, 72 points, 1 3 fighter, 1 ace, which is the one I believe that these attacks cannot be obstructed, I think, and 5 regular 3 fighters. So the ones, of course, matching those reserve hangar decks. Really hard to chew through the screen. Really good screen with a lot of punch due to flight controllers as well. And with the counter, with the swarm, and they are just being respawned every time that they are just getting killed. Super tough list with huge potential against squads. I mean, at least just to tie them up for the just, you know, for the period of time that would be enough for the ships to kill something else due to the huge firepower of those ships at the long range. So a good one, as I'm saying, not a typical beef list, but typical separatist list. Long range Martuk, a lot of dice. I like it. I really like it. Let's move on to the objective surprise attack again. So I think it's actually, isn't it 3rd surprise attack out of 4 lists that we already discussed? Yeah, so surprise attack, fire lanes, infested fields. Fire lanes is what I don't like here, not only because of Moralo, but also because of the potentially the VCXs. Didn't see them for a while. Although there is such mechanic in a game that will just ruin your day if you play such objectives. So I wouldn't risk it, of course, but yeah, he wants to be more maneuverable than with the contested outpost probably, so that's why he took it. Surprise attack, again, hard to choose. Most wanted, advanced gunnery is not an option. Opening salvo. I will be the guy who tells you that opening salvo is the solution now. Okay, so infested fields as the remaining one. Still morale only downside, but you know, it's a good objective. It's a good objective as well. Cool. Let's move on to the top 4 lists. Okay, so here, this is where the fun begins. top 4, strict top. And we have the former national champion, defending runner-up, like from the previous year. And the guy who is always, for 5 years in a row, I think, in the top 4 of the nationals. Top also for, I think, of like 2 other nationals in Europe. I think he was in Germany, he was in UK. Top 8 for sure. So the player who travels a lot and makes a great results, winning a lot, winner of a lot of regional, actually like the regular tournaments, some regionals as well. So popular Quebec. If you're watching our streams, if you're generally tracking the European scene, then you know this guy. So yeah, he used to play with Imperials, with the Gergerat, and he did as well this year. But only 5 points of bid. He used to play with a big bid, a lot of ships, first lasting demo, etc. But here less bid, of course, due to the Armada being changed to updated to the version 1.5. Yeah, so not a typical Kuba's list because there is no Demolisher in here. Instead of the Demolisher, we have here the Raider 2 with decaps and heavy ion emplacements. That's interesting one, and with weapons battery tech, just to make sure that he will score that crit. Nice idea, of course. A part of that we have typical Instigator, that is just killing squads or generally anti-squadron ship, and classic Architens with Nida and TRC, and Gozanti, also a classic with a Comsnet and Hondo. So that's how the support looks like, and the main piece of the list is of course Imperial 2, Moff Gergerat, Intel Officer, Vader, EWS's leading shots, heavy fire zone, Chimera, entrapment formation. Not many big surprise. Kuba told me that he decided not to bring Demolisher because Demolisher lost a lot due to the 1.5 transition. I can agree with that. Branson up, no more APTs on both sides, a lot of rerolls due to the evade speed DIC, no questions about that. Demo still pretty good, but expensive. Kuba wanted to try with something cheaper. He swapped one Gozanti to have like additional ship that actually puts some punch. So instead of Demo and Gozanti, he has the Raider 2 and Architens, which is pretty good setup. At the long range, yeah, it just has a potential, has a maneuverability with that Gergerat. So yeah, really nice, interesting choices. Typical Imperial LMSU. Yeah, so moving on to Imperial 2, because that might be worth mentioning. Intel Officer, of course, not questioning too much. I'm not questioning that too much, but you know, in the meta full of thermal shields, maybe not full of, but generally with the thermal shields and the other stuff, Intel Officer, I mean, you know, possibly there are better choices, but Kuba likes aggressive play, likes a lot of punch. Intel Officer provides it, so yeah, possibly that's a good choice. And heavy fire zone, that's rarely seen. He used to play XA7s, yeah, XA7s, but I've never been a fan of this upgrade, so Kuba seemed to resign from it as well, just to add some anti-squadron firepower. So the Raider catches squads, he shoots heavy fire zone, and it works, because while I played against Kuba on the first round of a top 8, he single-handedly killed my green squadron with 2 doubles on the heavy fire zone flag. So that was pretty funny. Okay, guys, so let's move on to the objectives. Pretty classic ones. Advanced gunnery, good one. Abandoned mining facility. He used to play contested outposts before, like in the past, I think. But abandoned mining facility is good because provides him a lot of more flexibility, right? Because you can actually move somewhere where you will be also able to score, so it's not keeping you pinned down to one spot on the whole map. And this is what you actually want with Gergerat, right? That's why he's for. That's why he's here for. Okay, and the volatile deposits. So similarly to abandoned mining facility, pretty similar. Yeah. So yeah, decent ones, and again, Kuba in a top 4, no surprise. List number 3. So the defending champion Svietlik, who I also believe that this is the guy who I don't. I just don't know. Don't need to introduce this guy to you people, because former European champion, European runner-up, 2 times national champion, like twice a regional champion, I think. So generally, top player, top European player, maybe even the best. Who knows? Yeah, and he plays, and he took what he used to play recently. I mean, for the big tournaments, he pulls out the Sloan, and he's pretty usually winning them, but not this time, unfortunately. So yeah, 7 points of bid, so quite accurate to what seems to be the average in comparison to what's the average right now, I believe. Typical dual, like new dual, the archetype that I call new dual Sloan. So 2.5. So similar to how it was with the price, but instead of price, due to all the new mechanics, there is a Gozanti supporting the Imperial and Quasar. Imperial is a bit fancy because it has a local fire control, flag guns. Yeah, so some kind of the new upgrades on up here as well. Nida, which is the decent choice for the ISD, possibly one of the best. Flexibility of not having 2 redirects, because you can just swap the contain with LFC, and then you're having Nida to swap it to evades, or if the one redirect would be sufficient, then you have Nida, and then you have evade and salvo, just to add some punch here, ship punch, because only ISD is shooting here. So interesting, and nice to see such setup. Quasar, a classic one. But instead of expanded hangars, reserve hangar deck, and same on the Gozanti, who actually has Comsnet, and Vader, just to make sure that the Imperial will shot even more efficiently. But reserve hangar deck, because his squadrons are now, let's take a look how Sloan evolved due to the changes and the Armada 1.5. So General Hull Runner, Marek Steel, Saber, and Valen, so pretty usual choices, but a part of it, 4 TIE interceptors, the generic ones. So good choice, definitely. He's respawning them. This setup of squadrons generally wins against most, or maybe even all squadron builds, like in a normal circumstances right now, due to lack of Riken aces, typical ones with the Yavaris. So yeah, really hard to win against that squad ball. It's fragile only to flak, but hard to provoke it, even if this is the alpha striking build. It's always difficult. One questionable thing, before he was using the Mauler, I think, Mauler Mythal, but he put the Valen here, possibly just to be a bit more efficient against generics, sorry. But yeah, it seems that, some personal choices, but no surprise here. The list works pretty well, as I was reporting already. It won 2 out of 4 regionals this year in Poland, so yeah, seems to be pretty much what we can expect from Sloan, to be the major Sloan list in the meta right now. Phantoms no longer super good choice. Defenders might be meta just as a substitute for the classic Aces build, because they are a bit similar, let's say, when it comes to survivability and potential, but it seems that interceptors still better. Objectives: advanced gunnery, no surprise. Fighter ambush, no surprise, and navigation objective is the superior position here. Nothing specific, so we can just move on to the runner-up list. And runner-up this year, how I used to be, for the third time, which is a really sad story, I can tell you guys. But no, just let me say a bit more about the list itself, because it's much more important, I believe. But yeah, again, your favorite presenter, so me, Black, so-called Black Admiral, as you guys may know me from my Instagram and generally all the stuff that I provide here or on streams. So yeah, I had the pleasure to be second on this tournament, to finish at the second place with my typical build for the recent. I mean, you know, I played different things recently, testing Republic, Separatists, everything, but this used to be my flag list. So the 4 TRC 90s on Riken, supported by Turinfar GR75. There's Ezra on one of those corvettes as well. And the rogue squadrons. So my component, it's exactly the same list that I had on the regionals in Gdańsk, which I was analyzing as well on the previous video. I mean, previous episode of the podcast. So it's exactly the same list with totally no changes, definitely no changes, because I believe there is not much more that can be done here. Yeah, what I can elaborate on is the squadron component, why it looks like this. Yeah, of course, Lando Ketsu, default choices, Lando, the best squadron possibly for Rebels. Ketsu, super cool bomber. A part of that, Hera, because she's pretty good, a lot of HP, and possibility of giving rogues to the generic squadrons. Why is she so important? Because in the Riken build, squadron build, you need to have the escort. The unique escort, which in this case is Wedge. So that's why you need Hera, and you have one more spot for the non-rogue squadron. In this situation, green squadron, because it also works well with Riken, speed 5, you can tie down the squads of the opponent. No Dutch, because, you know, this is when I'm playing against squads with this list. Usually Wedge is, you know, I'm just forming a defensive formation. I'm not alpha striking. Those squadrons are not very fast. Usually, when it comes, for example, to Sloan or the other ones, they are just used to be alpha striking this formation. So Wedge will shoot anyway with those additional dice, and will die after the first round as well. So not necessary for the upcoming ones. So hence no Dutch, as he's heavy and no, pretty good still. Of course, Dutch is really a good option, but it just doesn't fit too much here. So a part of that, Rogue Squadron, because it's a unique squadron, so it gives you the possibility of keeping him alive due to Riken. Same with the Green Squadron, of course, and Whitey, because there are points for additional rogue, and you need to put some generics. So yeah, Whitey fits perfectly. No bid, as I was mentioning before, because here I like to be second. I don't mind being first. Although during this tournament I was first in, I believe, 5 out of 7 games, so pretty much. When I'm first, that's why Ezra is here, because he helps with the objectives of the opponent that are focused on obstacles. So that's why I think that he's maybe not necessary, but a value added, definitely. Most wanted, like a classic one. 4 ships with the additional dice, it's a huge thing for those corvettes. Fighter ambush, a classic one as well, because I'm assuming that I used to be able to win most squadron fights, maybe not against Sloan, but those corvettes are fast, they can run away, or with Riken I'm just generally able to keep the squads tied up for a long time. So I could kill the carrier, for example, or just run away. So fighter ambush not triggering me that much. The downside of it is also eliminated by the fact that the corvettes are able to adjust the deployment, potential mistakes during the deployment during the first round with their great nav and maneuverability, and superior positions. So as well, fits corvettes perfectly, fits the rogue squadrons perfectly. So yeah, default choice, I believe. The only question, I'm only questioning myself if I shouldn't swap the fighter ambush to asteroid tactics. Maybe I wouldn't be scoring points on that much, but Lando gets better with it, and I'm not having the this downside from the fighter ambush. But it's not like a real big deal. It only matters usually facing Sloan. Anyway, that's how it looked like, and let's move to the main point of our analysis, the list of a winner. Abraham Interdictor Jonathan. So the Indonesian guy who used to be a part of the German scene of Armada, because he lives there and plays Armada there. Really good player, although I believe until now, from his achievements, what I know, he was, for example, he was once in the top 4 of German nationals, that's what I'm sure. And I think that he was also a regional winner in Germany as well, like one time at least. So yeah, definitely a good player, definitely decent player. We all know how good Germans are. And if he is like the significant part of their meta, then it means he's a top player as well. So yeah, so his list, Republic. I need to say one fancy thing before moving on to the analysis of this list. After the lockdown in Poland, we had, I believe, 7 or 8 tournaments, just those regional series and some regular ones, like the local ones. None of those tournaments been won by the new faction, by the TCW faction. Of course, there were some things like it was so close, the runner-ups were the new factions usually, but still, no victory of the TCW faction. And what happens? We have a Polish Masters, Polish Nationals, and the guy comes in and is winning it with a TCW faction, so with the Republic. Nice to see that, definitely, especially that this is a new archetype that might be the king of the meta nowadays, because it's a bunker, so a tank meta representative, the bunker list. A bit similar to the Starhawk that we were seeing at the beginning, but definitely a bit different, because with much more firepower due to SPH-ATs. So, 2 Venators Mark II on Tarkin, both with Intel Officer, both with Ordnance Experts, SPH-ATs, Thermal Shields, APTs, and on one of them, on the flagship, DBYs and Tranquility. Super huge firepower, APTs. That's maybe interesting thing, but because yeah, I think that external racks will give even more punch to that. But on the close range with SPH-AT and also with the regular armament, this seems to be a really good choice as well, especially on both of them, and the fact that they are able to grant it on the long range. Super hard ships, and they are supported by Pelta with projection experts. So PE Peltas, one with parts resupply, munitions resupply. So similarly to the Starhawk build, the Rebel one. And that's it. No squadrons, no other things. This is, the brutal power of this list is the SPH-AT, of course. A nice addition is the Assault Prone Torpedoes. And projection experts on both Peltas, which makes this list, well, generally the parts of this list, maybe not immortal, but super hard to be killed, super hard to kill it without losing anything. And that's a big problem of this list, how to approach that, how to get those Peltas, similarly to Starhawk, right? Yeah, so when it comes to objective, most wanted, which is cool, adds additional die to SPH-AT, you don't want to be playing that. One of the Peltas can be lost because it's already protected, hard to get there, because she's being protected by the Venators, like usually in the middle of them or on the side of the board. Contested outposts, similarly, this list can stay in one spot, tank, like farm the tokens and be tanky there. So yeah, definitely a nice choice. And Solar Corona for the deployment, right? So he could know how to set up his list just catch everything and kill with this brutal firepower. Well, hard to say how it will look like in the future, but this is the type of a list. Here we can see the ladder of the top 8 that is capable of surviving a lot and generally has like a super big punch. Just quick summary of the whole material, because I will not be discussing like the potential meta here, because we still have not many material to analyze. Only one big tournament. I don't know if anywhere around the world the national has been played. Definitely the higher ranked tournaments are not being played so far. So hard to see it, but there is definitely a tendency of having tank lists, and something that my friend Real Veers from Discord, you guys may know him, he is just calling it tank meta, and it seems to be the case, because we can see those 2 Starhawk builds, one of them typical bunker, and this list typical bunker as well, but on the Republic side, due to the cheap peltas and the huge firepower of the Venators. So interesting to see how it's gonna go in the future, if the tank meta will prevail. I think I will discuss it with the guys, because I've been invited to the podcast, the German podcast of Armada will be discussing meta here, so I can just invite you from this spot to check it out soon. And we'll discuss the meta and more meta connected things there, and potential tank meta upcoming. Just a quick summary. I don't think the tank meta will prevail for long, because there's a lot of counterplay that can be done. The worst thing for the meta list is when the opponent is knowing that just knows that it's not worth to engage in most of cases, because those lists are requiring the eagerness of the opponent to engage. If not, then of course it's hard. Also, the maneuverable lists are somehow able to catch those peltas or those smaller parts like GR75s in the Starhawk builds. Super hard, but those Recusants with the good maneuverability and significant firepower of Martuk at the long range, possibly rogue lists, MSU lists, possibly some Raduses. Hard to say. We'll be observing the trend. So hopefully it will clarify soon enough. It will clarify, because hopefully we'll have much more material from the big tournaments and the regular playing will come back. I think we're closer than ever since the pandemic started, so it's good to hear. Here we can see the results. 22 points was enough to achieve the title. So that's literally how it looked like before the last round, because that might be actually interesting. Świetlik was leading with 16 points, but Abraham won 8-3 against him, so pretty huge difference. I believe Świetlik just risked with his list, knowing that he needs to score more, because there might be people who will make a jump like Kubek or me in the last round, so that's why he probably risked a bit, and instead of taking like a safe result against Abraham, that might have set up the game, but hard for me to tell. I just don't know how the game of them looked like. So that's the case. And so just before I will finish, I just need a quick summary. So let's say that it was a great competition, because definitely this is how it is. This is how it was. Nice to see new archetypes. Nice to see new faces. Nice to see old faces as well. So glad that it happened, that the tournament happened. Yes, I would like guys to invite you for the next year, hopefully with the official prize support, but you know how it is. If not, then of course there will be a Polish Masters tournament next year as well. Just hope to see you guys as well on the European scene, maybe finally. Hard to tell. AMG announced some stuff for some official organized play support for the Adepticon, which will happen in March. Possibly, it will move. It will start since then, and we'll be moving towards the regular organized play how it used to be before. Anyway, summarizing the tournament, as I said, great time, great people, no delays, no technical problems, no technical issues. Even stream worked perfectly, which we need to appreciate, definitely. So much fun, so much smile on our faces. Beautiful weekend. That's what I can tell you guys. Okay, so this is where I would like to finish the material. I think most of the things were discussed. I believe in a nearest future I will be also able to provide maybe some other materials, and as I said, we will definitely discuss the meta in the upcoming episode of the German podcast. The guys will kill me, but I don't know. I mean, I won't be able just to pronounce this name, because it's just the typical German name of a podcast. So the Real Versus and Gerrit's German podcast. I believe there's only one like super significant. So here we'll be discussing more really shortly. So thanks for watching this video. Of course, I'm encouraging you to subscribe the channel here, to rewatch the streams, generally to have fun with our channel. Join us on Facebook, of course. Leave the like on the just to leave the like on the Legion Kraków page. Also on our Instagram, also my private Instagram. So I mean private, not private. The Armada Instagram, so Black Admiral KRK. There is a lot of Armada content there, much more to come. So hope you guys enjoy it. If you guys have like any observations, everything that you'd like to share with us, just don't hesitate. Write us the PM, comment, and just be a part of us. So thank you once again. Thanks for spending this time with listening to the podcast, and see you soon. Hear you soon.